It's true that Bear Grylls is an as-advertised military-trained survivalist, but there's a lot about Man vs. Wild that's less reality and more reality TV. In other words, some of the life-threatening fixes Grylls squeaked his way out of were super-duper fake. In the first episode of Man vs. Wild, The Rockies, Grylls is dropped off in the Canadian Rocky Mountains and left to find his way back to civilization. The episode features some of Grylls' most daring stunts, including a 70-foot jump into a freezing river and a rappel down a steep cliff. Then there was the lurking grizzly bear. Or was there? A spooked Grylls whispered, "There's definitely something out here. I just heard a really heavy footstep out there, and I don't know." The something walks right up to Grylls' shelter, and when Grylls dares to venture outside, he captures footage of a shadowy figure moving into the night. It looked like a close call with a bear, but spoiler alert, the something out there was a Man vs. Wild crew member in a bear suit. According to the Daily Mail, a representative of the Discovery Channel claimed that the sequence was a prank on Grylls. Sure. In Season 1's episode Sierra Nevada, Grylls is plopped into the middle of the Sierra Nevadas, arguably the most rugged and treacherous mountain range in California. After his parachute dumps him in the middle of a lake, he immediately acts to stave off hypothermia before nightfall, when the temperature drops dangerously low. And yes, Grylls built a shelter and didn't freeze to death, but he didn't need a survivalist handbook to manage it.
We heard somebody complaining that they said, no, he's down the road at the Motel 6. He's not really out there surviving.
According to Mark Weinert, a Man vs. Wild survival consultant who spoke with The Times, during many of the nights Grylls was supposedly sleeping in the frigid, forbidden woods, he was actually chilling at the Pines Resort at Bass Lake, in a hotel room with Wi-Fi and full breakfast included. So he was probably full of pancakes when he was depicted collecting a handful of stinging ants for his morning meal. Between stealth nights in a hotel on the Sierra Nevada episode, Grylls was genuinely awestruck when he stumbled onto 4 wild mustangs hanging out in a meadow, saying, "I'm in luck. A chance to use an old Native American mode of transport comes my way. This is one of the few places in the whole of the US where horses still roam wild." That's right, Grylls decided to convince one of those wild mustangs to let him ride it, something even a seasoned horse person would rightly approach with caution. And ride the horse he did. But before you marvel at Grylls' natural talent for horse whispering, hang on to your wonder. According to Weinert, the horses were ringers. Yep, they were rented for the day from a nearby operation that lends out horses for riding in expeditions and trucked into the wild to be quote-unquote tamed. More like Man vs. Rental Pony. Season 1's Desert Island set Grylls up as a modern-day Robinson Crusoe, stranded on a remote island, forced to use whatever he could find out there to survive. Grylls even compares himself to Robinson Crusoe at the outset of the episode. The thing is, though, it was no uncharted spit of land somewhere in the middle of the Pacific. According to Weinert, Grylls and company set up on an unoccupied outpost that was technically part of the state of Hawaii. As usual, Grylls builds a shelter to protect himself from sun, rain, and wind, then makes a spear he uses to capture a few meager bites of fish. But what we don't see is the crew wrapping for the night and whisking Grylls off to a Hawaiian motel for a solid night's sleep and a good solid meal that he didn't have to catch and kill first. Life got so pretend hard for Bear Grylls on that punishing desert island that he decided to brave the open sea in a ramshackle raft made out of bamboo stalks and palm leaves, built by himself of course because the island is deserted. At least that's how it looks on TV. But while Grylls did build a boat with his own 2 hands, he had backup in the design department. The Times of London reports that before filming the sequence, Mark Weinert directed a team that designed and built the boat. The crew then took it apart, and Grylls rebuilt it with the cameras rolling. Season 1's Hawaii, Mount Kilauea, raised the stakes for both what the series could show and what Grylls could even handle. This time, he had to go above and beyond the usual chores, finding clean water and building shelter. He actually had to flee an active volcano, Mount Kilauea. In some truly harrowing sequences, Grylls appears to cheat death and conquer nature all at once, battling hot lava and toxic gas.
Look at this, you can actually see the sulfur dioxide here seeping out of these vents.
After an expose revealed that some first-season moments on Man vs. Wild were staged, the series' original UK broadcaster, Channel 4, launched an investigation into the show. And they turned up plenty. About that volcano, for instance. In reality, there wasn't enough deadly magma around, so crew members brought in hot coals to make it look more frightening on screen. And as for the sulfur dioxide that hung in the air, smoke machines. Early on, Grylls and Man vs. Wild were outed for staging survival scenarios in Season 1 while actually snoozing in hotels in between takes. Or as Discovery's legal team phrased it, isolated elements of some episodes were not natural to the environment.
The point was you weren't misleading people, or was that the point?
From then on, the production team promised to be upfront about any fake danger, and they actually surprisingly walked their talk. In the Season 6 episode, Norway Edge of Survival, Grylls heads to the northernmost Scandinavia. In the absence of an actual, naturally occurring devastating windstorm, producers used massive wind machines to create conditions so difficult that they actually made Grylls cry on camera. A production first.
You gotta stop it. Sorry, I can't get that far again.
Once back to civilization, Grylls told the Los Angeles Times, "They blasted the hell out of me, and I thought I could get a shelter and fire going, but I just got beaten by this thing and was really shaken. The emotion was there because I thought, the reality is, if you found yourself in this situation, you're dead. Thank goodness it was just reality TV."